Hello guys and welcome to Real Estate and the Adventures of Parenthood. And today we have Rudy.
Hello. How's it going?
Hi. Okay, so today we're going to talk about lessons after divorce. What's really what are the things that we actually find out or entail like kids, our ex-spouses, like relationship wise, like the things that we didn't take into consideration while we were married.
Mm-hmm.
And this all started with a video on TikTok about, this lady complaining that for 17 years, she actually asked her husband to take her out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden her husband was remarried.
They were engaged.
Yeah. And then he was taking her to Mexico with her kids and she was bawling and crying and she's like, she did not understand what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Rudy brought I saw like a stitch on his video and I was like, oh, we gotta talk about that because there's things that we don't appreciate or think at that moment after and we wait until we get divorced and be like, oh, this is why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the Stitch video that I did on TikTok, it's right now I think at 1.4 million, so it blew up over the weekend. And I have a lot of stitches, a lot of women who are upset. And there's a lot of guys that absolutely thank you, brother, for sharing this in the comments. I think there's over 10,000 comments. And it's funny how what I did in the videos, I provided two perspectives. One, she was obviously upset. Like, why not me? Like, why is it that he's doing what he's doing after we're divorced? The pain she felt, and I wanted to give women an idea on what that feels to a man. And the thing that's comparable the most, because men are visual. I know a lot of women don't like hearing that, but it's the truth. Men are visual. Men are heartbroken, and there's anger there when we see our ex-wives now looking beautiful. And they drop weight, they got implants, they got tummy tucks, they got a whole mommy makeover. They look absolutely stunning. And it kills us. And we're heartbroken. Like, where was that effort when we were together? Where was that? So I wasn't comparing the events. I was comparing the feelings. So women could know how a man feels, and that's the equivalent. So that's kind of like what I was doing. But it came down to appreciation. It was the other main idea, I guess, to the video is why he didn't ask her. We don't know, right? But I also provided real world experience from my marriage that ended in 2016, how I walked into the marriage really thinking I was a romantic type of guy, flowers and doing all those gestures. And I gave a couple of examples on what I did and how the ex-wife kind of made me feel bad about it. And I guess I'll go into detail if you're fine with that.
Yeah, go for it.
The first example was she goes, hey, I want this new album. Can you get it? And I'm like, oh, she was raving about it. So I wanted to surprise her. And I go, okay, she's got a CD player in her car. She's got a tape player at home. I'm going to get her a CD. So I got her a CD and I wrapped it up and I go, here you go. She goes, no, I wanted the tape, silly. Don't you listen? And I'm like, oh, it just like broke my heart because it was a surprise. The next thing I did, I remember cleaning the house. And again, I was always 50-50. Like, I took the upstairs. She took the downstairs. I washed my son's clothes. She washed our daughter's clothes. So it's always down the middle. And I remember one day I decided to clean the entire house for her. Like, okay, I'm going to do my half and hers. And she came home and she just went off on me. You never listen to me. Look at the way the towels are folded. You know what? Just don't ever do it again. Don't touch it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So she walks in. The entire house is clean. So out of there's 10 items that are completed and she's focusing on one that I didn't do right. And that's all she acknowledged. And it broke my heart. I'm like, okay. And then I did something special. Like, I thought this was a romantic gesture. On our 5th anniversary, there was this Mexican restaurant, a real nice one here in San Antonio. And it was one of our first dates. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take her back for our 5th year anniversary. I'm going to get mariachis to come out and sing Cien Años for us because that was our wedding song. It's going to be nice. I had no intentions on us dancing. So the mariachis come out. And if you've been to a Mexican restaurant, boom, 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 they come out and they're like dancing. I mean, they're like playing the song around us. And they start saying, dance, baila, dance, get up. And I'm like, you want to dance? And she's like, yeah, sure. So we got up because they were telling us to get up. And we started dancing. And I thought it was a romantic moment because the entire restaurant was applauding. It was our 5th year anniversary. I told her I loved her. And I thought that was a wonderful moment. That's how I took it. We get in the car. And she goes, don't you ever embarrass me like that again. I'm like, what do you mean? And she goes, you know how I am with people. And again, what do you mean? I don't know how you are with people. What do you mean? She goes, I hate being the center of attention. I'm like, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, I didn't know that, because we hadn't been the center of attention or had done anything like that since our wedding. So I had no reference point. But she told me that, and it totally killed the romantic side of me. And I remember telling her in the car, like, you just killed that one piece of me that really wants to do things that are special and spontaneous and surprises. Now I feel I can't surprise you anymore because I'm just going to get ridiculed for it. So that part's over. I kind of gave up. And I guess the point of the video was appreciate your spouse, because words hurt. And it's funny, we can have, armor when it comes to the world in our professions. We can hear all types of crap from other people, and that doesn't bother us, but we always have that weakness in our armor when it's from people we love, especially our husband or wife. And if they're supposed to be in our corner, and if they say hurtful things like that, it can really affect a man's confidence, and it can kill that romantic side of him. So that was the point of the video, just appreciating your spouse.
And that's the thing. It's just like learning their love language too has a lot to do with it.
True. Very true. And this is, again, and the stories I tell, just to kind of give you a reference, I got divorced in 2016. I got married in 1999 at 21. So the stories I'm telling are old. Like, she doesn't even remember them. Like, is that what we fought for? And I'm like, I think that's what we fought for. Like, and she'll come by when she picks up the kids, and she'll watch the TikToks. And she goes, I don't even remember that happening. I'm like, well, it happened and it hurt me. So we're really cool. We're cool. And it's all old history. So I have no animosity toward her. She's a wonderful mother, a wonderful co-parent, and I respect the hell out of her. We were just bad husband and wife. So, yeah, it's old stories, but yeah, love language. We didn't know anything about that in 2003. We had no idea what that meant.
Because now that is, 2003, I was in 11th grade in 2003.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was like, because it reminded me of my ex-husband, the kid's dad, and it's just like love language. I mean, I wanted him to surprise me. I wanted him to be more romantic. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't that type of person. He would be like, oh, I clean the house for you, or I'll let you sleep in. And for me, that was like, I didn't see that as like he's doing something nice.
That's like something you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you're supposed to do. Because, I mean, yeah. At that time, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I would be like, I take care of the kids and all that. But my thing was, I love to cook. And for me was like, oh, you know what do you want to eat? I would wake up early to make him breakfast. But it was like, the things that whenever he told me that he didn't want me to make him breakfast, it got me upset because I wanted to pack his lunch and make him breakfast or take him lunch to work. And those are the things that he was like, no, I don't need that. Oh, no, I don't need to take food to work. Or what is your favorite meal? And that was a sense of me, like a sense of rejection for me. But then him cleaning the dishes, because I remember like, oh, you didn't wash the dishes, or, the towel. This is like the things that this doesn't go here, that doesn't go there. Let me just handle it. Let me take care of it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Or the towels are not folded correctly.
Why are towels such a big deal?
Because, oh my gosh,
Why?
You can't just fold them just the same way, or just like, no, they have to be pretty. Like, I roll my towels and I put them in the basket. Mm-hmm. And then, I have a certain way for the closet. Oh yeah. It's organization.
I guess everybody has their own thing. It's like from a guy's standpoint, like I said, if we fold them and they're put away and they're clean and they're going to be dirty in a week, what's the big deal? They're done. I mean, what is the problem if they're not done a certain way, but they're done? Because
it's the whole thing. It has to do with uniformity. It has to be all uniform.
Okay.
Because, I mean, let me see, if you're going to roll some socks and then you're going to put the other socks on top of it, it doesn't make any sense. It's organization. No, it has a system. It's like the same thing in pantry. Like in my pantry, I go ahead and empty I do not like boxes, so you will not see boxes in my pantry. You'll see everything in clear containers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if I don't see that, that's like, no.
What do you think of the theory? I read an article on this a while back, because this came up last January, and I was almost canceled by modern feminists. And I'm like, I'm just saying appreciate your spouse. There's this one video that went viral last year about a woman who was just belittling her husband, saying that he doesn't wash dishes. Like, he can't wash clothes right.
I
And
think I
he
saw
was,
that video.
yeah, and I'm an instructional designer for a living. And I know there's like there's tons of methods in how people can learn. And there's a lot of adults have a ADHD. And if you tell somebody what to do, they're not going to catch it. A lot of adult people have to see it, watch somebody, and then do it with somebody supervising them to learn the muscle memory of what to do. So I was trying to communicate that. Like, hey, don't be mean to your spouse. Maybe he just didn't learn the right way. Maybe you need to show him how to do it, watch a video, just kind of walk him through, because people just retain knowledge differently. And that's just how I've been doing it for 13 years. That's my profession. That's just a fact. And I got almost canceled by that. It's so silly. But what was my point to this? My point was why is that? Like, I mean, why do things have to be a way versus done? And here's what I was going to say. The theory is, the article I read last year was, there are women who are perfectionists, who have to have things a certain way, and they are the cause of creating a man-child. Like, if you're constantly telling them, get out, don't do it, it can create a bad atmosphere. What are your thoughts on that theory?
Okay, so in this case, I've lived for 5 years by myself. I have my 2 little boys, and there is a system to everything. Okay. And I think that now that I'm more mature, and I've grown as a person and an adult, I think it would be like, if I already have my house and I already have a system to it, right? But then having someone else like putting things incorrectly around the house kind of would drive me a little bit nuts, because I already have that system.
Your system.
But then again, it's just like, and I think this has nothing to do with it, but then when you allow someone into your life, it's a whole thing of understanding and learning the other person and being flexible. And in this case, as you're married the first time and you're like, you have someone new coming into your life, you're moving in with this person, and you're inflexible because you want things that way. Yeah. And that's where we're failing, because we don't let the other person fit in completely. Let's say, for instance, this weekend I was at a friend's house, and, he had dishes on his sink. I don't do dirty dishes. That drives me nuts. And he looks at me, he's like, I had friends last night over, and I'm like, okay. Yeah. Dishes? And that's all I said, and I walked away from it. And it's just like, okay, so when you put two adults in a relationship, when they move into a household, is you're learning the other's patterns, each other's, and it's like, are you patient with them? Are you understanding? Are you accepting them the same way they are? Or are you trying to change them? And that's where we're failing. Yes. You can't change anybody. You're always going to fail. You just can't. They can only change themselves. And I can relate to you in a way, because I just bought my home. I've been living by myself since the divorce, right? Since after 2017, I bought my home, 4 years ago in San Antonio. So the whole house, I've been cleaning. I'm a clean freak. I love things clean. I am too. And my girlfriend's moving in a couple of months, and I don't care if she folds it differently or she folds top. I don't have a system. I said, what rooms do you want? Let's kind of section this off. What rooms do you want? And she picked the rooms. Like, fine. I don't care. I guess I'm 45, and like I said, going through a divorce and all that. Little moments, I'm not going to allow little moments or little small inconveniences ruin my day or make me start a fight for nothing. I'm not going to allow that anymore. And I did back in my first marriage. And that's one of the lessons I learned from my first marriage, is that don't sweat the small things. I mean, if it's done and put away, that's all that matters. And she and I see the same way, the same rules. And that's why I love her so much, because she's an amazing woman. So go ahead. And sorry. That is where the key is. It's just like when we were younger, because yes. I'm in my 30s, but I've lived and I've completely matured, because when you're in your 18s, when you're in your 20s, and when you're in your early 30s, there's different. And then when you have gone through a divorce, that's when it changes you, and you realize that okay, so why would I waste my energy on an argument? Does it
Right.
even matter? Why would I hold a grudge? Why would I even, be upset about something that is just like, it's just something so simple. Why would I even waste my time for that?
Right. I agree.
And that's where a lot of people don't understand. And then let's say, for instance, if we go into co-parenting,
Hmm.
okay, you're divorced. Why are you holding a grudge? That's fine. If the dad is not stepping up, then so be it. Then deal with it. Don't keep your kids away. Don't hold grudges. Don't talk bad about them. And I'll put a good example on this. My ex-husband and I, we've been divorced. We've been separated for 5 years. We've been divorced over 2 years now.
Okay.
Oh, I know. I think it's been 3 years.
Hmm.
And he has 2 kids, which I love them and adore them, and I have communication with them on a daily basis. And yes, I understand it's weird, but I have been in their life for 12 and 14 years of their lives.
Okay. Oh.
And you know what? There's half siblings with my son, with my kids, and there's a relationship. So regardless.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like hard to understand the divorce at the beginning, my ex-in-laws, which now it took time for me to have a good relationship with them. I'm like, you know what? We haven't seen the kids. They're like, hey, you know what? We haven't seen the kids in over 2 years. I'm like, let me go ahead and cost all of this. Let me go ahead and take you guys to see the kids. We're planning. I talked to his ex-wife, yesterday and be like, hey, you know what? Let me just go ahead and see them. And they're like, why are you doing this? Because you guys are family regardless. I mean, if their dad is not here or not, and if he doesn't decide to step up, you know what? Even though it's not my responsibility, I love those kids. And it's not, and that's where a lot of people don't see it. It's what is beneficial for the kids, not
Right.
beneficial for the adults.
I agree.
So, and
It's
go ahead. No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Okay. Yes, you have to put the kids first, especially with a divorce, because they didn't ask for that. I mean, you're changing their world and turning it upside down. So it's for a parent to make that situation worse by constantly yelling, belittling their mom or dad, and fighting in front of them, you're doing a horrible, horrible disservice to the kids. And we couldn't do that. So one thing I'll praise about my ex-wife is that when we got divorced, it was a clean divorce. It ran its course, and I was the one who filed. I'm like, I can't be doing this anymore. And I didn't leave her for another woman. She didn't leave me for another man. It was just, we're calling it. And we made a deal. We said, look, we failed as husband and wife. Let's excel as being parents and co-parents. And we made a deal saying that we weren't going to introduce our kids to anybody that we dated. Like, at least we had to wait 6 months minimum before we introduced our kids to anybody. We wanted to make sure they weren't crazy or pendejos or anything like that. We wanted to just keep them at a distance, and we filtered out a lot of people. And we also had like a perfect, peaceful exchange. And you'd be surprised, the one thing that disturbs that peace is when you start dating, and then the girlfriend you're dating, like, why you gotta text her all the time? I'm like, we're talking about my kids. And I'm like, if you don't like it, you can leave. I dropped so many women. Like, no, if you don't like it, you can go. I don't want any hints or even jokes about this. This is my kids. And you walked into the situation. I'm protecting this from anybody. So I ended a lot of relationships when it came to that. And so did she. There was a guy like, y'all still in love, I think, man, because y'all are just way too friendly. And it's so sad that is like outside the norm when that should be the norm. Everyone's so used to exes hating and fighting and belittling. That's all idiotic and bullshit, in my opinion. I mean, it needs to change because you have to put your kids above all. And if more parents did that, I think we'd have a lot of healthier people out there.
I completely agree with that. It's just like, oh gosh, when I was married to my ex-husband, his ex-wife was not easy at all. Was not easy at all. When I'm telling you, she was a handful.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I tried to, to get along with her, try to like, hey, you know what, let's get along for the kids. Couldn't have it.
And why is that? I know you on your end, you were like putting your hand out, but what was her pushback? Like, what would she say?
I don't know. I mean, I don't understand it. It's towards him because he never made the effort,
Mm-hmm.
and actions speak louder than words. And she even told me last night, you always look after the kids. he doesn't, till this day, he doesn't talk much with the kids.
Mm.
I know more about his kids than he even does.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
And in this case, I completely understand because he doesn't call the kids, and I'm not trying to talk bad about him or anything, but he doesn't even talk to the kids. He doesn't call. He doesn't like, okay, are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? Or let's say, for instance, a few months ago, I talked to my son. I'm like, hey, have you talked to your dad? He's like, every time I call, he's now 9 years old. Every time he calls him, he doesn't answer. And he's like, well, you know what? He's the adult. I'm the child. He knows my number. When he wants to call me and he knows he wants to talk to me, he knows where to find me.
Wow.
And I'm like,
A 9-year-old said that.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you cannot beg someone to be part of your life. You cannot beg someone to be part of their life. Whoever wants to be in their life will show effort and will show, action.
Yes.
And it's just like, he's been so long away from all his kids, then it's just like some of his, like, for instance, and I hate to put this on the podcast, but okay, so his daughter's going to Disney, and his ex-wife called him and said, hey, you know what? She needs some spending money. And every year I either help her with cheerleading or Disney money.
Okay.
And I told her, hey, you know what do you, she's like, hey, you know what? I'm very upset with him. He hasn't even sent her money or anything. And I told her, how much do you need? She's like, how much do you think I need? So she'll be there, 7 days. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it.
Wow.
So, and it's just like, it's not about, oh, the dad is responsible for this. It's not about that. It's who steps up is what matters. It doesn't matter if you're an ex. It doesn't matter if you're not blood. It's about taking care of the child and, you know what, making sure that they're well, yes, regardless. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's just like, well, you're not the dad. You're not related to them. So what? At the end of the day, they are my kids' family, and this is the thing. It's just like, I will help them regardless. You know what? I have 2 little ones. I'm a single mom. I've been a single mom for 5 years, but I love those kids and I will do anything and everything I can help them with. And that's the thing. A lot of people are so egoistical and self-centered that they can't see past their blinds.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate. Like, as a dad, I can't imagine not calling them every day or texting them. My daughter moved out of my house, because her mom lives closer to her campus, right, on college. So that was heartbreaking, but she still comes over every weekend. And we watch, The Last of Us, and we play games, and we go to have lunch. So that's my baby girl. Like, I cannot go a day without texting them or sending them a meme, something. So, I can't imagine that. And I don't know where men what they're thinking, like not contacting the kids. Again, I don't want to talk ill about this guy or men in general. Like, I know some men felt shame or feel shame, because they can't provide for their kid and they tend to stay away. I felt that myself, but there's no way I was going to keep my kids away. So that's a space or mindset that I can't relate to or approve whatsoever.
It's just like, but even though it's not about, okay, yes, I understand, their expenses, like, medical bills, clothes, trips, extracurricular activities.
Yes.
But then again, it's just like, yes, I understand a kid is expensive, but that does not mean, even if you don't make enough, doesn't mean that your presence is not useful or it's not helpful. It's more important to having and building that relationship, knowing that you are there for your kid. And this could go for either or. It could be either female or male, because nowadays it's not one-sided. It's just like only moms. No, it's also dads, because dads are also getting custody of their kids. So custody, and the mothers don't want nothing to do with it.
I've heard of that, yeah.
I have a friend that he has 4 girls, and he's like, he has full custody, and he's like, she gave her parental rights. She wants nothing to do with the girls, and she went ahead and started a new whole life. So it's just like, this is mind-blowing, because how is this going to affect the child psychologically, emotionally, and mentally at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And that's where all the abandonment issues are coming nowadays.
It's unfortunate that a lot of today's youth, especially young men that I'm starting to coach, none of them had a father figure or a positive male role model. That's why a lot of them are gravitating to what they see on social media, like Andrew Tate, which is a horrible example. I can't stand that guy.
Okay, so I've heard a lot about Andrew Tate. I'm going to have to Google this guy because I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, he's just this character. He's, as he calls himself, an alpha male. He gives very, I would say this as a man, very misogynistic type of advice and a point of view that is resonating with a lot of young men. And these young men are resonating with it because they feel that women, modern women nowadays, and I'm talking like 20s, and maybe late teens, they're not traditional anymore. They're out, sleeping around. They're more or less adopting like a guy's lifestyle. So they're angry. And the only way to kind of get back is to follow this role model who's telling them like the hell with them. They're the problem, not you. And again, I don't agree with that whatsoever, but that's why a lot of young men are gravitating to social media icons as role models and father figures, when it should be like a coach. Like in my day, in the 90s, we didn't have social media. We had a coach, sports. So a lot of us who didn't have a father figure looked up to our coaches or maybe teachers as a father figure. Those are positive role models that hold us accountable, but a lot of them don't nowadays. So it's unfortunate that parents are kind of creating this kind of new generation of fatherless and sometimes motherless children when they need that.
And you're right with that, because I was talking to my coach and he was telling me like, look, you know what, because I'm a single parent. Mm-hmm. The kid's dad hasn't been in their life for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I started raising them since they were 2 and 4 on my own. And it's just like, how do I find a father figure? How can I help my kids when I'm just a female and they see me as a female and I cannot give them like that other side of things? And that is really hard. And it's just like by sports. I would say sports and extracurricular activities that are managed by males. But what's going to happen with the new generation?
Yeah, I would also say uncles, grandpas, any other like a family figure like that would also be a good idea. Because I know for a period of time, some of my cousins, like dads, were father figures in my upbringing for periods of time when I was younger. So. Yeah, it can be anywhere, but anywhere face to face where they can meet somebody who's more preferred than on their phone.
Yeah, and you're completely right. I mean, TikTok has become a really, really influential thing for kids, and YouTube too. I
agree. And attention spans as an instructional designer are at their worst. Like if you don't grab somebody's attention, it used to be if you don't grab them in the first 20 seconds, they're out. Now it's if you don't grab them in the first 3 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to grab them. You have to grab their attention. They're so bad. So, and kids, and that's the thing. A friend of mine, who's my age, he's a devoted Andrew Tate follower. And again, we always have discussions. And he goes, play this one video. And it was like a 2-hour video. And I listened to it. And I'd say 40% of it was good advice, but the other part was just this horrible, like hot takes. I know this is going to go viral viewpoints. So I'm like, I think it's trash, but he goes, and I go, this is the problem with a lot of young men nowadays. They're not reading the books or reading the articles. They're reading the headline. And the headline is what they're going off of. And that's the problem. If Andrew Tate is really giving great advice, I promise you they're not listening to these 2-hour podcasts. They're only looking at the 20-second, 30-second TikTok and taking it for face value when there's more to it. So there's a lot of good and bad with social media. And again, like I think you're not my age, but at social media, like when growing up, we didn't have social media. We didn't have it, so I know how to separate that and think for myself versus kind of let something influence my mindset.
So I started with MySpace and Facebook in 2006, but I was in college with Facebook. Okay. I mean, I had my first Facebook account in 2007. That's when I opened mine. Yeah. And it was like, wow. And then MySpace, I remember that. And then ICQ, AOL.
All that,
what else? Messenger. I remember Messenger. Mm-hmm. That was pretty awesome. But I mean, that was about it. I mean, we didn't have any,
like Twitter or like, TikTok, things like that. So.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. But no, it's really interesting on how we don't appreciate the little things and how we don't co-parent and having to learn how to co-parent with your significant other versus trying to strangle them or slash their tires.
Oh my God. Yeah. I've heard a lot of horror stories, and it's when I started dating, majority of the women I dated were single mothers. And I actually, in a sense, when I first started dating, preferred dating single mothers because their schedules were more aligned with mine. In other words, you know how it is, Monday through Friday, there's no going out Monday through Friday. You got school, you got homework, you got, baths and things to take care of and school activities. You only went out on weekends and sometimes every other weekend. So I preferred that. And every woman that I dated, they all had the same story. The dad's not around. I'm like, why? What happened? And he's an asshole. He's this or that. I go, does he help out financially? Like, no, they just left. Only a small percentage, a small few were actually involved. And things never worked out. I tried, but they never worked out. But it worked out with my girlfriend who didn't have kids. And I remember it was a huge adjustment for me because she's like, can I come over today? And I'm like, it's Wednesday. You can't come over today. It's a school night. So it was a big adjustment for me because she had so much availability, but it ended up being the greatest relationship I've ever been in, and that's why I'm engaged with her. So.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's just like, in my case, my ex-husband, he lives overseas. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
2018, he moved to South Korea, and then he moved to Japan, and now he's finally moving back to the States. So, and he's retiring. So that means in September he'll be co-parenting with me, and that will be a new thing because, now my whole lifestyle has changed. My life has changed, and he's not moving in with me.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I say that is because it's not because I'm being mean or anything, but I'm sorry, but let's say for instance, if I'm dating, do you think another man will be like, oh, so your ex-husband lives with you?
Yeah, that would be I wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a red flag. And no, I mean, this is my house. If he wants to come and get the kids, he's able to get the kids and all that, but he needs his own place or he can stay with his parents.
Yeah. And believe it or not, there are a few women that I dated, like, he lives with me, but just so you know, nothing's going on. I'm like, oh, okay.
What do you call it, midnight?
Yeah, so it's like so weird, and yeah, it just didn't work out. I mean, like, I know everyone's situation is different, so it's like, but I couldn't do that. It was like too much. I have a rule. I developed the rule when I started dating, like, don't ever date anybody who's separated and not divorced or living with their ex or boyfriend. I've had a few scares where, like, the boyfriend, like, kind of charged at us at dinner, and he was accusing me of cheating. Like, you're cheating on my wife. I'm like, what? Like, no, dude, she was on Tinder. So I had a few scares. So I don't want to get hurt. So if you're separated, I won't date you. If you're living with a guy, I won't date you because there's too much toxic people out there, and you never know what you can run into.
Yeah, you got to be careful nowadays. Whenever I date, it's just like they have to be divorced.
Yes.
I don't date anybody separated. I don't mix business and pleasure. Mm-hmm. I do a background check. I knew that. Background check. I check because I'm not going to waste my time.
I get you.
I mean,
there's
time
resources out there.
Oh yeah, and I mean, so I had this guy. Remember a few months ago, he's like, "Hey, you know what? You're single." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're married." And I'm like, he's like, "No, I'm divorced." And like, show me the divorce decree then. And he showed me the divorce decree, and I pull it up in the tax records because there is a website in the state of Georgia, I can't remember what it is, that you can actually just look by county and just make sure, or by the first name and last name, and you can see what other court cases they have active, if they've been divorced, if they have had so. It's
funny you say that because when I first started dating, a lot of women was like, so you seen something? Like, no, I'm divorced. And they go, whatever. I'm like, what do you mean? No, whatever. Let me see the decree. And I'm like, and I actually had to save the PDF on my phone. I go, here, look at it. And they just started laughing. And I was known as the PDF guy for a while, but I actually had to pull out the PDF. I go, here, there's your proof. Because again, based on their experience, they had a lot of married men lie to them. And 4 weeks in, he's still married. He never filed. I'm like, well, here's my PDF.
So listen to this. I was dating a guy. He was 28 years old. Uh-huh. And he's like, completely red flag. And I was like, is this guy for real? I'm like, he was talking about moving in, getting married, having babies.
With you?
Yes.
Oh my, how long? Wait. How long were y'all dating before he brought all that up?
This is like the first date.
Oh my God. Okay.
I know.
Whoa. Red flags.
Red flags. But there's things that didn't add up completely. Nothing added up. And I'm like, something does not make any sense. Something does not make any sense. And I started like throwing breadcrumbs. And for those of you, I mean, FYI, if you have a Facebook page and you have an Instagram account, then you can always look at if people are smart enough, they have everything in private, like friends, common mutual friends, and recently added all that. So he was adding continuously, like recently added like more women, and I'm like, something doesn't, and supposedly we're exclusive. And there was a lot of, his Instagram account was growing, the followers and the people that he was following. And there was comments, there was like, there's something weird about this. So I found out New Year's Day, there was this girl, she's like messaged me because I was looking at her stories and I'm like, oh no, you have like really cute puppies and all that. She's like, do we know each other? No, I was just looking at the puppies that you have. So I was just trying to, avoid the conversation. Like, oh, we have, or do you play softball? And I'm like, no. Do you know so and so? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, bingo, call me. So I told her everybody that I thought he was actually with. And I added everybody in a chat box, in a chat, group. And I went ahead and had them call me, and we were all in conference. 5 women in total.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was dating all of them, and he was telling the same story to all of us. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's completely red flag.
Yeah, especially coming on that strong. Every guy I've ever known, even with my female friends, because I had more female friends when I was single than guys, and I started hanging out more guys, so I got to see both perspectives. If guys coming on too strong, like bringing up marriage and moving in, I'm like, what the hell? Neither he's got nowhere to live, or he's married and he wants to just sweep you off your feet and just kind of, sleep with you, then move on. I actually knew a guy whose dad was a pastor. His dad had a church. So he had a religious upbringing, but he was an SOB. He had a template that he typed out, and this template read, I don't remember verbatim, but the template said, hi, I'm a man of God, and, the Lord's drawing me to you. You seem like a godly woman. He would purposely look for profiles with women who posted religious memes. Okay? That's how he saw them. He found that. And then he would send this, like, the Lord's calling me to you. I think we should take advantage of this. And, you look like a praying woman, blah, blah, blah. Let's meet. And he just filled in the blanks, and he sent that template to like 40 women a day on Facebook. And 4 of them bit. And he would just cycle through them. And after he slept with them, he dropped them.
Wow.
He's not a friend of mine anymore, but this is what I knew of him doing after the fact, because one of the women that he slept with called me, and I didn't know who she was, and she started telling me the story, and then I stopped hanging out with him. Like, dude, you can't be doing that. So, yep. Social media, like you said, you got to have everything on private because, again, he specifically targeted women who posted religious memes.
Yeah, no, it's just like, I mean, I'm a real estate agent, so for me, it's like, I just post everything. I mean, unless it's with my kids and all that, I try to just put it private. I mean, there's a few things that I do put private on my social media. But you gotta be careful. You gotta do your research, and you know what? If you can hold off on sex, hold off on sex.
I agree.
I had a dating coach. I hired a dating coach 2 years ago, and she told me like, hey, you know what? Hold off for 90 days. If that person's really interested in you, then, I mean, and you might not even hold up for 90 days. It depends on what the situation is and if that person is serious or not.
Yeah. Most guys who are playing a role and just want to sleep with you will give up after like maybe 2 dates. And they'll flake out or say something or just come up with some excuse. I purposely, I hadn't dated since the 90s. So when I got divorced, the whole world had flipped on its head. And I'm like, what's going on? I was really shocked how sexually aggressive women were. And they were instigating the first move and just like, let's do it. Like, what, really? I just picked you up. It was insane. The world had totally flipped on me, but I did see that if I liked somebody and I actually saw potential in us, I purposely withdrew from sex. I go, let's hold off. Because usually when people have sex, if things are fine, then she leaves, and the next day one of us calls and somebody's overthinking it. You know what? That wasn't me last night, and I gave you the wrong impression, so I'm out of here. Bye. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I've always thought that sex very early ruined the potential of anything. So when there was somebody that I thought, hey, this is something that we can maybe develop into something nice, I purposely withheld it for at least 3 dates. I couldn't do 90.
No, so I can say I started seeing this guy and I really like him. And,
now? Just recently, right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I spend the night at his house. We went to a gala on Friday, which is the company, his company, event. And he's like, are you staying over? I'm like, yes, but I'm sleeping on the couch and I'm not sleeping with you. Mm-hmm. And he was okay with that. So we cuddled and we watched TV and all that. But by the end, because I left yesterday, was like, he gave me a hug, but I don't even know if he's interested or not. And that's the thing. It's like, I still can't read. And sometimes it's kind of difficult to read guys. But yeah. He wants to plan a trip.
He what?
He wants to plan trips with me.
Oh, okay. How long have you known him?
3 weeks. But he's the uncle of my son's friends.
I'd say be careful because if he's acting different or you can't read him, just like I wouldn't read too much into it. Maybe he's seen other people. That's another thing I learned when I was dating is that when you start talking to somebody, there's probably an 80% likelihood they're talking to 3 other people. So you can't expect anybody to be completely exclusive with you at the very beginning because everyone's talking to somebody. Like
that's the thing nowadays. I mean, when you're dating, it's just like, okay, so how many people are you actually dating right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I don't even bring that up because I'm like, you know what?
It goes without saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in, if someone's, this is me, my thought, if you're really interested in me, then you won't want me to get away, of course.
Remember when I told you that I have more female friends? Like when I first started dating, I go, look, the world's insane. Like, give me some advice because they have been single for a while. They go, Rudy, date as many as you can up front and filter them out until you get to the one that you want to focus on. And they told me, I have my concert guy, I have my trip guy, I have my sex guy, I have my guy who spoils me, my older guy, my Bobby, and I have my, what was the other guy? Anyway, they had different guys for different things. And I have my movie guy, and I have my cuddle on Friday night guy. And
what?
Yes, they had different guys. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. So, the one thing that helped me when I was dating is I told women, look, I got divorced. I've been with one woman for 20 years. I am not ready for anything serious. I want to have fun, figure out who I am, and, get to know some people. And I was upfront with them. I never let them on. And a lot of women respected that I was honest. A lot of them got mad, but they respected that I didn't lie to them or lead them on. And I ended up having a lot of like situationships or like, what do you call them? Like, friends with benefits. And before you know it, I had like 7 women at one point just all rotating because they all knew that I was just not ready for it and they were fine with it. So that was the world I lived in for quite some time. The guys called it a roster. Girls call it like what do they call it when you keep horses in a barn? Women have a different name for it too, but it was weird. Like everyone had like a roster of people that they were seeing at all times.
I mean, I just can't do that. I just might be just old school. It's just like, I mean, me personally, it's just like, look, if I'm going to be dating someone, I'm just going to date one person, but I'm not going to date, I just can't date multiple people, even if I'm not sleeping with them or kissing them or nothing. I just can't. I mean, that's just not me. I mean, I'd rather spend my time with other things, like traveling, jumping out of a plane, flying a plane, just spending time with my kids or my business.
Yeah. Yeah. I know real estate agents. I have a few friends that are real estate. You're never off. Every time your phone rings, you have to pick it up. So you guys are super busy. So I totally get that lifestyle. That takes up a lot of your time. Yeah. Everyone has different needs. And I get how you're saying, because I was very traditional like you. Because like I said, I hadn't dated since 96. But that was the world. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just a guy looking to have fun. I'm going to have fun. So I kind of adopted to that. But it gets old after a while. It gets really old because you find out that when you really need somebody, like when those moments of like maybe your dad had a heart attack or you're just like, oh my God, life hit me. You can't call any of them to come over there to be with you. You're alone. And that's one thing I discovered is like, when you need them at that right moment, you can't count on them.
That's true because they'd be like, well, you know the deal and you know our arrangement.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not here just for you to cry and they'll make fun of you and they'll walk away. Exactly.
Because you're only the D. That's all you are. And
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, that's all I was going to say. You're the D. That's all they are. You're just a dick in a box,
So,
if I can say that. Sorry.
so I was going through a breakup, 2 or 3 years ago. I had this one friend, and I remember I called him on Valentine's Day. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, hi. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm coming over. It's Friendship Day, by the way. He's like, I'm dirty, I'm smelly, and I'm working on my house. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not interested in you. I just want a friend. He's a single dad, and we always like hanged out and all that. We cooked together, and I would stay at his house. I would sleep on the couch, and
So
he
you
would
weren't intimate with each other?
Oh, never.
Okay.
I mean, that is my rule. You're like, you're not intimate with a lot of people. Yeah, I'm not. I have rules. And I would leave like, clothes at his house and all that because I would sleep over all the time. And once he got a girlfriend, he's like, we can't be friends anymore.
Yeah.
So that was the end of it. I like hanging out with him and all that, but yeah, we never, yeah.
Yeah, that was difficult. I remember there were a few relationships that I would have in out of respect. This is something I'm serious. I would say I wouldn't drop them. I don't even think I told the girlfriend that I would see, not my girlfriend now, but I'm talking back in the day. I wouldn't tell them I have all these female friends. I would just say, hey, we're not going to do anything no more. I'm stopping. So I just kind of severed ties, but I didn't
You put it on pause.
Yeah, put it on pause because, I don't know how long this is going to last. We're going to get to know each other. And, the shelf life with most of those relationships were always 3 months. They never went past 3 months. If somebody would implode it, she would find a red flag, something about me that she was like, I knew you were like them. I'm like, what? Just to self-implode it or sabotage it. So they only lasted 3 months.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? And when you have a healthy relationship like my girlfriend now, who is the most non-toxic, healthy woman I've ever met in my life, I'm talking parental relationships, friends, and intimate. She is the most healthy woman I've ever met. And it's a shock to the system because you're so used to toxicity. And somebody healthy with a good mindset who doesn't play games and is real, I'm like, no, I'm too good for you. No, I'm too good for you. You got to get away. No, you deserve better. You deny it. My body was rejecting it because I wasn't used to that. I went 5 years with just toxic people. And when someone hits you, it's a life-changing experience. And I'm glad she was patient with me. And like I said, we're engaged now. I'm never going to let that go because it's how rare that is.
And be like, okay, so where's the ticking bomb? All right, yeah. I'm waiting.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to sit here and wait because I know what's going to happen. I have women figured out. I know exactly what's going to happen. I didn't know a damn thing about women. I knew a type of woman. I knew of a type of woman, but I didn't know what I was talking about. She proved me wrong on everything. And I'm like, wow.
The most interesting thing is when you have a connection with someone and you can be yourself and be able to laugh and talk about everything and just make fun of them and all that. And I mean, okay, this guy is just like, it's interesting because it's a connection that I haven't had in a long time. And it's just like, I can make fun of him. I can laugh with him. We're always laughing. And that's a good thing. But at the same time, is it healthy? Or is it not? And then you start questioning when it's healthy. Yeah. And then you're like, is this a real guy? Or is this so what's going on? And then you start searching for all the red flags and not focusing on the positive side. Exactly. And that's another issue. Then you start what's really going on here?
Or they'll paint a scenario in your head, create a scenario that's totally made up, and they'll leave you. And really?
And they will self-sabotage that relationship, and you're right. Yeah. It's about being patient and getting to know the person.
I truthfully believe, having gone through therapy and being in a healthy place now and in a healthy relationship now and going through all that toxic fun, right? There's a lot of people out there who shouldn't be dating. They have no business dating because there's a lot of damage and trauma that they haven't faced yet. And I think if everybody took a time out and took 1 year off, everybody, and go to therapy and meditate, heal, focus on yourself, and kind of got over that trauma, that heartbreak that your ex did to you, I think we'd all be better. Because if you're dating a month after your boyfriend or girlfriend cheated on you and you're heartbroken, you have no business dating because you're looking for a distraction. And it's unfair to that man or woman that you're using as a distraction. And then the cycle continues.
I completely agree with that. And it's just like, oh, I'm going through a divorce. I'm like, what? I decided this year, I said I got myself out of dating apps. I'm not going to meet anybody on dating apps. It's all going to be organic.
Good.
And I'm just like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if not, I will hire a matchmaker next year, at the beginning of next year. And we'll
I actually hated dating apps. It was too easy, in my opinion, to meet somebody. But what I hated the most was my first impression being a text. I prefer, you're a real estate agent. You know how it is when you shake hands and make eye contact with somebody, making that sale, that first impression. That's important. And I hated not having that opportunity. I hated it just being a text. And that's why I preferred approaching women organically out in the wild. And I remember women were shocked, like guys don't approach women no more. I'm like, really? I'm like, well, I told them my story. I didn't know any better. So there's some naiveness there. So women were shocked at how upfront I was and just approaching them. And that worked for me as well. But yeah, I hated my first impression being a text.
So I usually send videos, but like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And I mean, all of my transactions and everything it's just like, and I'm not talking about relationships as transactions, by the way. I was talking about real estate business. Yeah. But most of it is videos. But when I'm starting to approach, if I see a cute guy, let's say on Publix, or I make sure that they don't have a wedding ring and be like, hey, I make some type of story or something just to start a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. Or, be like, hey, what a cute guy, or this or that. It's just making that effort. And that's something that we've lost so much nowadays, especially in the society is so focused on, oh, I didn't see you on the dating app. And finding high quality men, you're not going to find them on dating apps. You're going to find them outside dating apps.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a huge movement. There's a lot of young men who think they have no chance on dating apps. Like there's a stat or this take I've been hearing on TikTok where they say women only find, 10% of the men on dating apps attractive. The rest of us have no chance. And I'm like, let me do some research. And I actually did a live on my YouTube channel where I still have my old Match account. It's not live, right? But I can log in. I changed it to I'm looking for a man. And I went through like at least 1 hour's worth of men's dating profiles to evaluate. Let's see what kind of effort they're doing out there. And I found that 98% of men out there are horrible with dating profiles. Like they're putting up horrible pictures. The grammar on their profile and bio sucks. A lot of them come off very defensive or angry. So a lot of their profiles are crap. And I said, guys, if you're not having success on a dating app, look at yourself. Maybe you're the problem. Maybe it's not the women, because from what I've seen, you're putting no effort out there and you're just putting up the most horrible pictures. So I think a lot of that is men not putting the effort in, the right efforts in their profile.
And I can say that a lot because men don't put effort nowadays. What is up with that?
Because you want me to answer that?
Go for it.
Because you don't have to put a lot of effort to get laid anymore.
And that's the thing. So I did a video and, oh my gosh, this women in Dubai or something. It's, I do it, the video and on TikTok, and this lady, she talks about that men in the U.S. don't put effort. They don't make effort anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's just like opening doors or getting flowers. I don't even remember when was the last time a man gave me flowers. I get my flowers every week at Costco, by the way. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, why are people not putting that effort? Is it because they don't want anything serious, or they just looking, it's easy to get laid? What are they really looking for?
You want me to be honest? Not
honest. Yeah, go for it.
When I first started dating, I found that if I was super nice, women were immediately turned off. And I can't give you a specific example, but I found if I was more into myself and focused on me and didn't give them a lot of attention that they were used to getting, like blowing up their phone with texts and things like that, it worked more for me. And I go, I don't like playing this role. I don't like doing this. So I stopped, and I more or less went with the approach like, hey, I love my life. I love what I'm doing. I love my career. I love what's in front of me. And I don't need anybody to make me happy. So that's kind of my mindset, how I went about doing it. But I noticed if I was like a very gentleman-like bringing flowers, it was an immediate turnoff. You're too good for me. No, I don't know. That's a little too much. I'm fine with that. So I think a lot of men can relate to that. And if we are more standoffish and more mysterious and not answering all your questions, and there's more mystery there. and women are more intrigued with that. It's weird. I don't like it, but it's what I experienced.
That's the thing. Dating is a game. I mean, everything has become such a game. Why can't you just be direct and blunt? Do you like me? No? All right, then we'll move forward. Then we just promoted each other to friends then.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like I said, ultimately I ended up just saying, look, this is what I'm looking for. And it worked. Honesty. And guys are horrible liars. I'm a horrible liar. I won't remember what I told you 3 weeks ago. So the truth works for me. So, and I was a bad husband. I wasn't the best husband. So I made a promise to myself never to lie to another woman. And I haven't. And it's worked for me. And, going with the bluntness and truth and, just being a good person, that's really helped me with my dating life back in the day.
That's good to know. I mean, lying, why would, I mean, if you're upfront, it's just like, so obviously I'm Latina. And I always tell guys, you don't want to see my Latina side.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that temper. Don't lie to me. Don't cheat on me. Be direct with me. Always be that. Because I will always find out. Even if you think I'm not going to find out, I will find out regardless. Yep.
One Latina put me in therapy. Broke my heart.
Are you serious?
Yep. Put me in therapy. And I was messed up for a while. Like, she was, beautiful. Like a 10 out of 10, but a horrible person. And she cheated on me, and I forgave her because I loved her that much, but I wasn't in love with her. I was infatuated with her looks. I had the rose tinted lenses, and I ignored the person she was, and she cheated on me again, and I finally ended it. And I don't hate her for that. It actually taught me a lot about myself and what standards I've kind of pushed aside, the exceptions I made for what I thought was love and what I wanted. And it taught me a lot. But I had to go to therapy for that. Yeah, so to reinforce your point, don't mess with Latinas. Don't.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate it.
And I'm Hispanic, of course, so I know better. So no. I don't want to get
you are.
Stabbed with a knife or something like that.
Oh my God. Well, Latina stories now, and they become like really good FBI agents and CIA. So if you have skeletons in your closet, they will find it.
Yeah. Yeah, the background checks, what you just said, I did a sponsorship for one of them. I know how it's like $20 a month and what you can find out by typing in their number. Yeah, and a lot of Latinas, I remember when dating, because I was totally naive. A lot of them said, you know what, I got to give you credit. And they give me that face. I got to give you credit. I'm like, what do you mean? What's going on? She goes, of all the men I've ever dated, you're the only one that I've actually looked through your social profiles and didn't see that you're following any booty hoes or any naked women on social media. You're actually following your nerd stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's what I like. But you're the first one who's never done that. So the women will go through your profile, who you follow, where you checked in, who your friends are, and everything you've liked. So yes, I totally get that.
I completely get that and all that. But no, I mean, all of this has been so interesting. It's been amazing to have you on my podcast and all that. So I'm looking forward to seeing a follow-up and all that and see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That video that you reached out to me about, it's going viral. I'm going to do like a few follow-up videos on that and speak to that on my podcast as well.
Oh yes, definitely. You definitely have to do that because it's a great way of seeing it in different perspectives. It's not a negative way. And unfortunately, a lot of people nowadays, they go ahead and look at it as a negative perspective, a one-sided way. But if you look at it at a different way, then it's just like, oh, you know what? This is what I could have done. Yeah. This is how can I improve and better my future relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have to learn from our mistakes. We have to.
I agree. Thank you very much, Rudy.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.